It started a couple weeks ago. I kept waking up every so often, 2-3 times a night. Thought I was just starting to get up in age, but I'm a little too young for that. Sometimes I'd wake up, turn the light on, walk around, check the doors. Sometimes I'd go to the bathroom, get a drink, whatever it was, and I'd bed back down. But then I'd wake up again later. I couldn't seem to just shake the idea that something was around. Something might be in the house. Something. I couldn't figure out what. Nothing was in my room. I checked. Hell, I even checked under the bed. No monsters under there. But why? Why did I keep waking up? Why was I awake? 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, sometimes midnight. There was no sound. I started listening to my cell phone, leaving it on, a podcast. That seemed to help me sleep a bit, but nothing helped me to stay asleep. I started thinking, oh, maybe melatonin will help. I don't like taking any more pills than I have to. But I found out it had nothing to do with medication, although I started to wish it did. I woke up 2 nights ago, and I just didn't move. I was too tired. Didn't want to get up, didn't want to go get a drink. I didn't have to pee. Why was I awake? My eyes opened slightly and I looked around. And that's when I saw something strange. Something in the TV. A reflection. A reflection of the window. My pulse jumped as I realized there was something outside the window. Something was watching me. Unblinking eyes looked up. They seemed to just barely be above the bottom seam of the window. It was strange. They just looked at me. I didn't move. There was no light inside my room. Nothing. Not a nightlight. The clock radio was in the other room. Kind of a trick to make sure I get out of bed in the morning. So there was no light at all. So what was I seeing? Something was outside my window. It couldn't see that I was awake, but I could see it. And I didn't move. I just froze. Froze solid, waiting for it to move, waiting for it to blink, waiting for it to do anything. With the first glimmer of light, it seemed to just go away. It was gone in barely a blink. But what the hell was that? I asked around, and nobody knew. I wondered if the security from the neighbors was out. Maybe they saw something, but I asked them. They checked. They saw nothing. What was I going to do? What was it outside my window? I didn't know. And the last thing I wanted to do was just shoot blindly into the night. So what do I do? So last night, I tried to stay awake, but only catching maybe an hour or two sleep a night will play on you. I was wondering if all I was seeing was in my imagination, and I fell asleep. Again, I had the podcast going, one of my favorites too. I remember chuckling at a joke right before drifting off. And then I remember waking up. My eyes were still closed, but this time I was facing the window. I looked ever so slightly. I peeked open my eyes, my lowest eye closest to the bed, to make sure nothing reflected off. And I looked at the window. It was there. It was still there. Not in the same spot, but close. And it just stared at me. It was there just looking. But something was a little off. It was looking around. I could see just barely that his eyes were moving, looking left, right, up and down. It looked around my room, but again, there's no light in my room. Nothing was coming in. Nothing was going out. But I could just barely see the glimmer of those eyes. Those eyes looked around, and then the head, or whatever they were attached to, moved. It moved around the window. It moved up the side, but it stayed level. I didn't see a body, but I couldn't see much of anything but those eyes. Those eyes kept looking in, looking around. I had to make sure my eye that was higher up stayed shut. I feared that it would see the glimmer and know I was watching it. But it's still there, looking intently into my window. Oh, what do? I don't know what to do. No one knows what this is. No one else has seen it. I can't just run. I don't know if it would chase me. I have my pistol, but I just can't shoot out of the third floor window.